Not only do you get better care, you get cheaper care. Why? You went to the doctor, he says, oh, Harry, I haven't seen you for 6 months, and I'm noticing your blood pressure numbers are a little bad. Let's change your medication. That's a lot cheaper than we don't see Harry, I'm just named you Harry. And we don't see Harry here until he comes to the hospital with a massive stroke, which is what's happening today. See, it's in the insurance company's best interest to keep patients healthier longer, because then they get to keep the whole dollar of your health premium. And that's in their best interest. But government doesn't care, because they just pick another pocket. If we moved it into private insurance, we increase the actuarial pools so everybody's rates go down. Because just because a person's on Medicare doesn't mean they're sick. My mom is 79 years old. Her health care regimen consists of having a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast in the morning, and every day she walks the cellar steps 3 times, because that's her cardio. And she wears pink sneakers and a pink sweatsuit to do it, because she should be appropriately dressed at all times. Because she's 79. So she's an insurance company's dream. They get to keep the whole dollar. Well, that increases those pools. When you do that and move people into private insurance, another thing happens. Medicare reports that their administrative costs are 2%. And that makes it better than private insurance, because their administrative override costs are about 5%. When you go underneath and read the reports underneath those numbers, one of the reasons that Medicare is 2% is that they don't hire fraud investigators, because everybody knows there's no fraud in Medicare, right? And private insurance has a very active fraud investigation team. Why? Because they run on a profit motive. Fraud eats into their profit. They want that profit. So if you really want to go after the fraud, privatize, because they hire investigators. See, all those things are win-win, aren't they? Now, am I the only one saying this? No, the Cato Institute did a report. They're like a free enterprise group, and said, why don't we move to this system? I spoke to a bunch of healthcare actuarials, and when I was done, they went, that would work. Those numbers actually make sense. There's another piece that would work, and that's an important piece. Remember you came with those fundamental rights? Well, when you walk into a doctor's office with the Blues or Health America, whatever your private insurance is, you get treated like a person. If you walk into a doctor's office with a medical assistance card, people make assumptions about who you are and where you came from. And those assumptions aren't always true. Once in a while, you have the experience, remember the thing about walking in somebody else's shoes? Years ago, I was involved with a program, and it was for young moms. And we had a young mom in the program, and she had a child who needed something to be done at the doctor's office. And it was a regular kind of checkup thing. That particular checkup was scheduled, and she was in college. She had a final during the checkup, and it was a lab final. You can't move a lab final, because they set the labs up. So you can't, it's not like a paper final that you can take it another time. And I said, oh, hell, no problem. Give me your tootie and give me the medical card, I'll go. I don't have to make any decisions, I just have to walk in with them. Now, I was a lot younger then and had brown hair, and when my hair wasn't this delightful color, I never looked as old as I was. Because I'm little, and so people assumed always I was much younger. So I walked in with the little one. I was running late that day, so I was about 10 minutes late for this doctor's appointment. Did you ever meet a doctor on time? So I didn't think it'd be a big problem. I walked in, I walked up, I presented the medical card to them. I didn't say my name. She didn't ask me. She looked at the card. I'm holding a little one. You people are never on time. And she proceeded to publicly excoriate me in front of the whole room. And then she told me, well, I'm going to teach you to be much more responsible, so you will have to wait until last. And then we'll see if the doctor can see you. I sat in that office for an hour and a half. Because I was an irresponsible young mother, and didn't I know better, and I needed to know better, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I'm sitting in the office for an hour and a half with an 18-month-old. Do you have any idea how an 18-month-old behaves in an office for an hour and a half? She behaved appropriately for an 18-month-old, and every time that she behaved appropriately, I got a tisk-tisk from this office. Every other patient was seen. The doctor comes out, walks down the hall. The receptionist comes out and says, well, I don't know if you want to see this girl. The doctor went, Peg, I didn't know you were here today. You are not? No, I'm not. Now, I don't often use it, but I have this little title. It's called doctor. I have a PhD. So I proceeded to inform her how her behavior was not appropriate. I also informed her that the young mother that she had made all of these assumptions about was in fact a widow, because her husband had been a police officer who had been killed in the line of duty. And she found herself with 2 small children, widowed, in her 20s, and needing to go back to school. Can you imagine if her whole life looked like that? All because she walked in with a medical card. If those people have private insurance, they get treated like people. We should treat people with dignity. You don't know why that person is on assistance or is using a medical card that day. And that eliminates assumptions. And it's important that we do that. It also builds in responsibility. Because one of the things that private insurance does when you go in, they say things like, do you smoke? You get a little cheaper premium. Are you 900 pounds overweight? It's a little bit more expensive. But the government voucher doesn't move. So there's financial reward and punishment for behavior. And we need that as well. So it accomplishes a number of things, and it gets the federal government out of the micromanagement of healthcare, which is a place where it does not belong. That's it.
I totally agree. I'm an employer, and I totally agree with what you're saying. But let me ask you your position, and this is my belief, and I want your opinion. A huge cost of healthcare today is the legal system. I have friends that are doctors. Their malpractice insurance in the state of Pennsylvania is off the charts. What's your position on tort reform and reforming the legal system and somehow reining in personal injury?
I'm for it.
Okay.
It's nuts if you don't. The costs are more than the malpractice insurance. People get tests they don't need because doctors are afraid they're going to get sued if somebody dies. Eventually we all die. So we're getting all this defensive medicine that is non-productive. Mississippi actually implemented tort reform, and the results in savings were measurable. Some people say, well, it's only 4%. Some people say it's 12%. Those are both numbers that make things cost less. I'm for making things cost less. And it's really not fair to doctors. You know, if a doctor really is negligent, he should be punished, period. But to force doctors to pay insane premiums, first of all, we're driving them out of Pennsylvania because they don't want to pay it, and other states don't do it. So we're hurting patients, but we're also hurting health care. So there, we need to be reasonable about that.
I have another question. I'm a business owner, and with obviously the current administration in Washington, I should be ashamed as a business owner that I'm in business. I'm in business to run a business, and I'm in business to make a profit. And I think it's great that this group is out tonight, and I applaud everyone for coming out, because you mentioned the voter turnout in one of the, I guess, Delaware County being 7%. But I think it's really, I'm going to ask, as you get out and see people, for me it's important that you have a position on how important business is to this country, and that businesses are being taken for granted every day.
Businesses are being persecuted. You're not being taken for granted.
There's another business owner in this room